when we started this conversation around this, he was telling me that, for example, he'd give himself like 3 hours of time to work through study or assignments, but he'd find that he'd be drifting in and out, and he found that he wasn't very productive and he wouldn't get much work done. And then after the end of that period of time, that 3-hour block, for example, he'd then get really angry with himself because he actually didn't use the time effectively, but he couldn't seem to change it. He'd still have these problems with trying to get the work done, trying to be productive, and really struggled with staying, focused in that period of time. 3 hours is a long period of time to try and stay focused and do something, because we think if we give ourselves like a block of time like that, 3 hours or 4 hours, we've got to just sit down for that 3 or 4 hour period and then just go for it and get as much done as we can. But what we find is that our focus comes in and out, just like it does in sport, doesn't it? Our focus comes in and out. Welcome to the Tiffany Micah podcast. What we do here is build the strength and courage in you to accomplish your big dreams and goals in your sport. No longer will you feel limited. You won't feel you're not good enough. You won't question whether you will make it. Those doubts will disappear, because you will have the competitive edge over your opponents and leave them in your wake. And the bonus is, others will notice. Listen up and take notes, because I will show you exactly how to do it. Hey there, this is Tiff, and welcome to the Tiffany Micah podcast. Well, today, this conversation's come up over the last few weeks, actually, when I was talking to a friend of mine. He's a baseballer. He's striving to become a world-class baseballer and play in the majors. And I'm really excited about that. We talk about that quite a bit. And he was telling me, though, that he's really struggling to maintain his focus when he's studying, because at the moment he's still in college and he's doing assignments, and he's struggling because he finds that his mind's drifting all over the place. And when we started this conversation around this, he was telling me that, for example, he'd give himself like 3 hours of time to work through study or assignments, but he'd find that he'd be drifting in and out, and he found that he wasn't very productive and he wouldn't get much work done. And then after the end of that period of time, that 3-hour block, for example, he'd then get really angry with himself because he actually didn't use the time effectively, but he couldn't seem to change it. He'd still have these problems with trying to get the work done, trying to be productive, and really struggled with staying, focused in that period of time. 3 hours is a long period of time to try and stay focused and do something, because we think if we give ourselves like a block of time like that, 3 hours or 4 hours, we've got to just sit down for that 3 or 4 hour period and then just go for it and get as much done as we can. But what we find is that our focus comes in and out, just like it does in sport, doesn't it? Our focus comes in and out. So we're talking about that. So what I suggested to him was to approach it differently. So because I used to have the same problem, especially when I was at school. I would never sit down and study. I was terrible. I managed to figure out a way to just wing my way through everything. I think I was smart enough just to get by. So that's all I needed to do. But I used to find that I really struggle. So when I started to create an online business, like originally it was the Lady Golf Teacher with teaching golf and so on, and I have to record a lot of videos and create blog posts and sit down actually at the computer and put things in place, I really struggled to sit down because I was never really that productive, like sitting down and doing things, doing as I saw paperwork and so on. But I discovered this principle, which is quite some years ago now, but it's enabled me to write my book, Focus: How to Reach Your Potential in Sport, Business and Life. I wrote it in a 6-week period. Did it quite quickly. Everyone's always surprised that it only took me that short space of time to write my book. But I adopted this principle, and this principle is called the Pomodoro Technique. And I was introduced to it probably about 5 years ago now. And it's actually a time management method, and it was developed by a gentleman called Francesco Cirillo in the 1980s. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And what this time management technique, it's so simple. It uses a timer, and you break the work down into smaller time chunks. How simple is that? So rather than thinking that you've got to work at, a long period of time of a 3 or a 4 hour time block, you just chunk it down into smaller time chunks. So what I did was I actually tested a few different time intervals. So I tested out a 10-minute time block, I've tested out a 20-minute time block, a 45-minute time block, and a 50-minute time block. And I'm at the point now I can use any time block, and I'm incredibly efficient. But what I found that what worked best for me was a 45-minute time block. So if I've got a big project that I'm working on, as you know, I produce episodes for the podcast show. I create and edit videos. I put together trainings and so on to help you. I've got a new course coming up, the Get Focused program, which I'm excited for you to be part of. So when I'm working on big projects like that, I find what works for me best is to work in a 45-minute chunk of time with a 15-minute break. And I tried 50 minutes, didn't work so well. I found that I needed that extra, 5-minute break, like a 15-minute break rather than a 10-minute break, because I tried to keep it in hour blocks so that 45 minutes I'd be working and then 15 minutes I'd take a break. I tried it at 50 minutes. I found that it didn't seem to work as well. But then because a 10-minute break I found wasn't long enough, whereas 15 I found that it worked for me best. Again, that worked for me, so you'll need to do some testing with it. But it changed everything for me. So because I had time frames to then get as much work done as I could, it created a deadline, right? What do? We respond so much better to deadlines. So when we've got a time in place, even when we compete in our sport, we have an end time, don't we? Whether it's, for a tennis match, it's the end of 2 sets or 3 sets, depending if we're male or female. It could be 5 sets. Or when you're playing soccer, it's the end of a 90-minute round, right? Or, you might have, like, when you're surfing, you might have 4 minutes that you've got to catch a wave. So you've got, we respond to deadlines much easier. So if I said to you, for example, okay, well, you've got 24 hours to sign up for the Successful Athlete Masterclass for free, because after that, then I'm going to package it up and sell it for $297. What would you do then? You'd get in and sign up, wouldn't you? Because I've given you a time frame that you've only got 24 hours to sign up because you can get it for free. After that, you're going to have to pay for it, right? So that's the same way in which we operate. So as I talked about, for me, works really well was a 45-minute period working. Then I'd stop, take a break for 15 minutes, and then I'd re-begin the next 45 minutes. Very powerful. So when you think about this too, if you work in that manner, then the advantage that this has with your sport is it teaches you a couple of things. So it teaches you how to focus, doesn't it? It teaches you how to give all your attention to what you're working on in that time frame. Isn't that what you do when you play sport? Isn't that like when you're out there competing, what do you need to do? You need to be focusing. What do you need to be doing? You need to be giving your whole attention to what you're doing in that moment, that skill, right? That competition. Interesting, isn't it? So we've just taken like schoolwork and we've turned it into something that can benefit for us for sport. Wish somebody had told me that concept years ago. I think I would have approached school very differently, right? Even when I was at uni, I wasn't great at uni either. Because I didn't apply this method. I didn't know how to do this. Would have changed everything for me. So I want to share this with you now. Just like I'm sharing this with this good friend of mine. So the key phrase in this is what you're doing in that 45 minutes of work that you're doing, whether it's study or a project or an assignment. It's teaching you how to focus in that time frame. It's teaching you how to stay in the moment. So if you're learning to do this with your schoolwork, just imagine how much it's going to benefit you in your sport. So I want you to be thinking about this way. How you are with one thing is how you're going to be with everything. Isn't that a trip? How you are with one thing is how you're going to be with everything. So if you're drift in and out with your schoolwork, highly likely you do that with your sport as well. What if you change that attitude? What if you could teach yourself how to focus better by learning how to focus and be more productive by just applying this one simple technique called the Pomodoro Technique? That's easy, isn't it? Now that's just the first part of it. But then the question becomes, and you may be thinking this, hey Tiff, okay, that sounds really good. I'm going to go and apply that today. I'm going to test it out. I'm going to do 45-minute time block and see if I'm more productive. I guarantee you will be. I was able to write my book in 6 weeks by applying this principle. But if you say, okay, Tiff, I've got this assignment and I just can't bring myself to do it. And you're telling me that if I work for 45 minutes, you know what? It just feels too long for me. I just can't mentally get my head around it. I can't bring myself to do it. What am I to do? Okay, there's an answer here for you as well. Do it in a smaller chunk of time. How simple is that? So all you have to do here, and this works really well, I find this incredibly powerful, just allocate 10 minutes to it. So if you think about it, 45 minutes seems so long. I mean, 3 or 4 hours seems way longer, right? And we chunk it down to 45 minutes. But sometimes when something's really tough, if we think about it, we go, oh, you know what? 10 minutes. I could do something in 10 minutes. Yeah, that'd be good. I could do that. So if you've got something that's really tough at the moment, something that you're finding that you just can't approach it, and you're really battling with it, just do it for 10 minutes. Set your timer, and then off you go. Because it's achievable. And I actually use this method quite a lot because I'm finding at the moment with reading, I've got these books at the moment that I'm reading, but I find that they're so deep and they're really heavy reads, and I'm really struggling to read these books. I want to read them, because there's a lot of valuable information in them, but I'm just like really struggling to actually do that. So sometimes I even chunk it down to 5 minutes because I know that if I just apply even 5 minutes, I know I'm going to be way more productive. I'm going to get, 5 minutes, I can do that. I'm just going to be focused for 5 minutes. How easy is that? Even 10. A lot of the things that I do, I tend to do them in 10, but sometimes if I'm really struggling with a heavy book, I'll just do 5. Way more productive. I feel like I'm actually taking action rather than, oh man, I still haven't read that book and I keep putting it off. The same with the guitar. I love the guitar. Right? I always wanted to be a rock star when I was a kid. You know, and travel the world and play the electric guitar and have really cool songs and all of that sort of stuff. And sport obviously took over from that because that's been pretty much my life. But I love practicing the guitar. I love playing the guitar. And at the moment, I've just gone back into guitar lessons again because I thought, oh no, I don't need to go back to guitar lessons. I'll just practice. And I'll just jump on YouTube, and there's a guy that I quite like the way he teaches things. I'll just follow him. Never applied anything to it, never did anything about it. And I thought, you know what, this is not working for me. I'm going to have to go back, and I'm going to have to go back to guitar lessons. And I really love Ryan, the guitar teacher. He thinks the same way I do. He's very much attention to detail. He's very much about getting the sounds right and getting the chords right. So I really love the way he teaches because that really responds really well to me because that's how I operate as well. So if you were ever to come and have a lesson with me in sport, I'd get down to the nitty gritty and make sure we get your technique really sound. And also I would do the same thing from a mindset point of view. We'd strip it back, make sure we get the right pieces in place so that, you know, you're getting the results that you're actually after. So with guitar, I'm exactly the same. But I was like, oh, you know, I really want to learn this song. And I found it quite overwhelming because it's played quite quickly. And I thought, well, you know, what I've really got to work on is making those chords sound so much cleaner. You know, because there is only one bar chord in it, but I've always struggled a bit with bar chords, like getting the transitions. It's always like, you know, you strum through, get to a bar chord, and then you got to stop because you got to change to the bar chord. It takes a while. And then, so I wanted to make sure that the transition from chord to chord was so much more, sounded better. It had a great flow to it. And it sounds like, you know, the pro musicians, right? The ones out there on the stage playing. So what I did, and what I do is I break it down into 10-minute chunks and I just work on specific things. So rather than me saying, you know, I've got to do 30 minutes of guitar practice today, too long, can't do it, don't have the mental capacity to it. Let's do it in smaller chunks, 10 minutes, achievable, right? Even 5 minutes, achievable, smaller chunks. That's the key to it. So I can practice the guitar for 30 minutes a day, but I do it in 3 10-minute chunks. So when I compare myself from last week to this week, like playing the guitar, man, so much better because I have done it in smaller chunks. So what happens in that smaller chunk of time? It gives me something to focus on, doesn't it? It teaches me to stay in the moment. And it makes the goal of playing this new song much more achievable than overwhelming, right? So if you've got something that seems so overwhelming to you, like this big assignment that you've got to do, or something that, you know, even a skill that requires, you know, it's much more intricate, chunk it down. Chunk it down into 5 or 10-minute blocks because it'll give you something to focus on. It will teach you to stay in the moment and it will feel like you're achieving something because you're just working on one little specific thing and it feels like you're achieving something rather than being overwhelmed by it, okay? So this is what I'm going to suggest to you is rather than you thinking that you have to do these long hours of time to get your study done or to get your assignments done or to get anything done, I want you to approach it in these 3 simple steps, okay? So step number 1, what I want you to do is a mental preparation, and I want you to give yourself a mantra, and this mantra can be very simple, but I want you to be thinking before you even start, in even these small chunks of time, I want you to say to yourself, I am training my mind to be focused for my sport, whatever your sport is. I am training my mind to be focused for my baseball. I am training my mind because I am training my mind to be focused for my tennis. I am training my mind to be focused for my soccer. I am training my mind to be focused for my lacrosse. Whatever it is, right? That's what you're doing. That's how you're going to approach it, because you are going to teach yourself how to focus. You are going to teach yourself how to stay in the moment, not by playing the sport, but by getting that work done that needs to get done for your school. Okay, for your schoolwork, for your study, whatever it is that you're doing. Number 2, I want you to work in 45-minute time blocks. All right, so I want you to set the timer and do what you can in that time frame. That's it. Set 45 minutes. You'll find that probably around about the 30th or 35th minute, you'll find that you'll start actually getting into a flow. That's great. And the flow will continue, and all of a sudden the alarm will go off at 45 minutes and you go, oh, should I keep going? Do not keep going. Stop. Okay? So the study, or like some of the easier work that you need to do, the project work and so on, that's you're finding a bit easier, do that in that 45-minute time block. Number 3, work in 10-minute time blocks. So these things that are more challenging, more difficult to do, I want you to work in those smaller chunks of time, because it's going to be much more achievable, and it'll give you a shorter time frame, right, to be more productive. Because if you go, yeah, I can do it in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, great. 10 minutes is nothing, because I think there's something like 1,440 minutes in the day, if you work it out. And 10 minutes out of 1,440 minutes is nothing, is it? It's nothing. So see what you can get done in that short space of time. And you know what? By doing all of this, what's it going to do? It's going to help train your mind. It's going to train you to be more focused. It's going to train you to stay in the moment. It's going to give you power. And it's going to give you power for your sport. How exciting is that? Who wouldn't want to do that? Right? So use your education to teach you how to get better in your sport. Okay? Use your education to teach you how to focus. Use your education to teach you how to stay in the moment, because that, my friend, is going to help you compete at a much better level in your sport and get everything that you want. Because remember, how you are in one thing is how you're going to be in everything else. So power to you, okay? Power to you. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'd love it if you could share with me what you like best about what you heard today. But before you go, have you signed up for the Successful Athlete Masterclass yet? It is free. It is free, okay? So I'm going to, in the Successful Athlete Masterclass, I show you what's holding you back from accomplishing your goals. I show you how to get your mindset in check, striving towards your future, your destiny. I show you how to identify your strengths and weaknesses in your sport and in your mental skills. And I show you how to craft your plan to go after your sports goals in a strategic way. Do not leave this to chance. It's planned out. It's action taking. And the best part is it's free. So go to tiffanymica.com/SAM. I look forward to seeing you there. I want you to dream big, believe in you, and go after your dreams. Bye for now.